Welcome to Covestone Training. This session will cover vendor maintenance. You can locate vendor maintenance under the File Maintenance submenu. Enter the vendor name or create a new record from the search window. When you enter the vendor record, you will start in the Remit section. Starting with the fields at the top left, the Home Branch field is not normally used but can be selected if a vendor is only purchased from by specific branch. The Type field is used for reporting. There are several vendor types, including inventory, office expense, buying group, and inactive. Inventory is the default if not otherwise specified. The short name is also a field used in reporting and is optional. The short name is used as a shortened report column header. The name and address field should be self-explanatory. The zip code is entered in both the city-state postal field and the country postal field. In search keys, add the various keyword shortcuts that you may want to use for this vendor to make them easier to find. If there is just one specific buyer for this vendor, select from the drop-down list or otherwise leave blank. Select the payment terms for the vendor. Some vendors may give a discount if you pay early. Otherwise, net 30 days is a common setting. The Pay On field works with the term setting to control when the invoices from the vendor will show in reports for payment. The "our distributor for them" is clunky wording, but means the account number this vendor has assigned to you if there is one. Enter the credit limit for this vendor if you have one. Almost every vendor has one. Remit Via specifies the vendor's preferred method of payment. Check is the common entry. The Maximum AP Adjustment field is the maximum variance between the invoice amount and the payment amount to the vendor. This allows for small corrections to the invoice by the AP clerk without having to go to management. Enter any relevant reminder information in the AP Notes field. This field will expand larger if needed. To disable this vendor, keep in mind Covestone does not allow you to delete vendors, or pretty much anything for that matter. Set the No PO Entry Allowed flag. The No Directs Allowed flag will prevent your salesman from creating a direct ship sales order on this vendor's products. Enter any contacts you have for the vendor in the contacts fields provided. Normally in the form, name, space phone number, or email address, space, and full name. Some vendors may prefer that you exchange order and payment information using EDI or electronic data interchange, or make bank-to-bank payments with ACH, Automated Clearinghouse. This is where those functions are set up. Keep in mind, this can be a complex multi-step process and needs to be done with the assistance of a Covestone tech support representative. The Ship From section allows you to have multiple vendor addresses separate from the billing address. There may be cases when purchase orders are sent to one location and returns are sent back to a different location, and other potential scenarios. Enter address and purchase order recipient email information as needed. Vendor instructions will print on the purchase orders you send. Notes are internal notes and do not print anywhere. Enter the time zone so that the system can more accurately calculate anticipated purchase order delivery days. The Ship Via defines the preferred default shipping method for the vendor. Your system will likely have a different mix of ship vias than the ones that are shown here. The common setting is best way, or whatever your equivalent is, which is changed as needed during purchase order entry. The Backorder Policy field defines whether or not the vendor is supposed to backorder out-of-stock items. No backorder is the common setting. The Freight Terms field defines whether or not the vendor is supposedly allowed to charge you freight. Freight charges may be optional if there are cases where you have not met the target conditions for free freight. The Send Via field defines the preferred default method of delivery from the vendor. This is normally left blank. The rebate paid on field defines when the vendor rebate credit is anticipated to show on the books to be taken by the AP clerk. If there are shipping targets for free freight or discounted pricing, they can be entered here. The target can be a quantity, pounds of weight, or a dollar amount. These target entries will only apply if the vendor items purchased do not have a byline assigned, which will override the entries. The return merchandise flag is used to identify a vendor address that is allowed to accept returns to the vendor. The rep flag identifies this address as being a vendor rep agency that you will most likely send purchase orders to, but the materials be shipped from another location. The various PO flags determine which methods of sending a purchase order to this shipping address are available. Typically, only email POs is flagged. The remaining settings are used by the purchasing agent for replenishment forecasting, which will be covered in more detail in another session. In the GL section, liability account override is used when a different account other than the accounts payable needs to be credited in the general ledger. Say, for instance, a janitorial service that you track expenses differently than the other vendors. The remaining fields on the left side are used when running the 1099's required report in the AP submenu. Use entries in the Sundry AP GL Distributions section to change the allocation of vendor charges to multiple accounts and varying percentages. This is often used when there is a vendor expense that is allocated across multiple branches. The pricing section is not often used. It could be used in the case where you have a product line that you purchase from multiple sources which have different pricing, which you then adjust with a formula. If you have rebate contracts with this vendor, enter the information on the right side. The group price override sections may be used if the vendor is giving you special pricing on a group of items or brand for limited time. This may be a sale or a special discount if you purchase a certain quantity. Product price overrides operate like group price overrides, except you identify specific items. This would also be used in a limited sale price scenario. The notes in this note section are just for your convenience and do not print on any forms or correspondence. The commercial bid section is not currently in use. The buy group section is used to associate all the vendors that remit payment to a buying group and specify which buying group. The account number defines what vendor account the remit to check is for when sent to the buying group. And finally, the change log tracks all the changes made to the vendor record throughout its life. This completes the session on vendor maintenance. Thank you for your attention. This has been Doug Fashing.